Hello, my name is Alfa Milka Kriswandi, and in this video, I will explain about the method session for my skripsi with the title Attitudes Toward English as Lingua Franca and Pronunciation Anxiety Levels Among Non-English Major Students, a correlation case study. Okay, first I will explain about my research question. So I have three research questions. The first one is, to what extent are attitudes toward English as a lingua franca among non-English major students? And the second is, to what extent is the level of pronunciation anxiety experienced by non-English major students? And the last question is, what is the correlation between attitudes toward English as a lingua franca and levels of pronunciation anxiety among non-English major students? Okay, so for the research design, the study adopted a quantitative correlation design, which is suitable for examining the relationship between two continuous variables, attitudes toward ELF and pronunciation anxiety. In this research, data will be collected objectively through standardized questionnaire, and the results can be analyzed statistically to find correlation without bias from the researchers. This design allowed me to analyze statistically correlations and draw conclusions based on patterns across the dataset. Okay, next I will explain about the research participants. This research will be conducted at a private university with participants are students from various non-English study programs, and the data collection will use a paper-based questionnaire. Approximately 100 students will be targeted for the study. And however, the final number of participants depends on the willingness of students volunteers to participate. And before filling out the questionnaire, participants will be briefed on the purpose of the study, and they will be asked to sign a consent form to ensure the voluntariness and confidently of the response. Demographic data such as age and gender will be collected. This is the reasons why I choose to involve non-English major to address the research gap. Most of the previous studies that explore attitudes toward ELF and its possible relationship to pronunciation anxiety only focus on English major. And non-English majors learn English to be able to communicate using English with others, not because their profession requires them to be able to speak English, especially in ELF context, where they may not have as many opportunities as English major to develop their communication skills. Therefore, involving non-English major students will offer a broader and more diverse perspective. Okay, in this section, I will explain about the research instruments. And in my study, I will use a structured questionnaire adapted from previous instruments on attitudes toward English as lingua franca and the pronunciation anxiety scale. The first, the Attitudes Toward ELF questionnaire, was adapted from Zhang and Du, 2018, and the instrument consists of 15 statements reflecting students' views on the use of English as a global lingua franca. In this questionnaire, there are 3 items that have negative statements, and these items are numbered 2, 5, and 9. This instrument addresses RQ1, or research question first, students' attitudes toward English as lingua franca. The second instrument is the pronunciation anxiety scale, and this was adapted from Alfa et al. 2018 and consists of 15 statements which reflect students' perception of English as a global lingua franca. The items have been designed based on key indicators such as perceived clarity, ownership of English, and acceptance of diverse varieties of English. In addition, like the ELF questionnaire, the pronunciation anxiety questionnaire also contains negative statements. The negative statements are number 1, 5, 12, and 14. This scale supports RQ2 by quantifying learners' pronunciation anxiety, and both instruments were translated into Bahasa Indonesia to ensure clarity. How it answers RQ1, RQ2, and RQ3? The RQ1, the scale helped me to quantitatively measure participants' attitudes toward ELF, and RQ2, the scale directly addresses the research questions and allows me to identify the general level of pronunciation anxiety. And to answer RQ3, I will use percent correlation coefficients in SPSS to analyze the statistical relationship between scores from the two instruments. Okay, this is the ethical considerations, and this research adheres to core ethical principle based on the Belmont Report, Gauger 2013, and the principle of non-maleficence, Beckham 2016. The foregoing principle, the first is respect for persons, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. For the each ethical consideration, I will apply through the research process to ensure the fair and responsible treatment of all participants. Okay, for the example, consent form will be obtained before data collection, and permission will be requested from relevant stakeholder, and after that, to fulfill the beneficence, data collection will be scheduled at appropriate times to avoid disrupting the students' academic or personal activities, and I will ensure that the survey questions do not cause discomfort or psychological distress, and I will treating all individuals equally. For the sequence of data collection and analysis, the first, the ELF attitude skill and pronunciation anxiety skill were adapted from existing validated instrument, and I will ask for permission from stakeholders. The next is distributing questionnaire, and the next is recording data into SPSS for analysis, validity, and reliability. And after that, I will use descriptive statistics like mean, standard deviation, and frequency to answer student attitudes toward ELF and levels of pronunciation anxiety. After that, to answer RK3 or person correlation coefficients, we'll conduct in SPSS to determine the relationship between ELF attitudes and pronunciation anxiety. In my opinion, there will be a challenge since the study targets is non-English major students who may have limited interest in English research. There's a risk of a low response, and I will collaborate with course lecturers or academic coordinators to help distribute the questionnaire during class session or academic breaks. So it can be concluded this meta session aligns with my research objective and questions. The use of a correlation design, validated instruments, and clear data procedures ensure that the findings will be both meaningful and credible.